Hey everyone, Joey here. So lately I've been working on this HO scale diorama that I wanted to use for photographing my rolling stock and other equipment on, and I felt like there wasn't enough background elements. So in this video I'm going to show you how I took a bunch of this stuff and turned it into this. Nice little hill diorama with some grass and some little tree line that I can use as background elements for my photographs. I've also got a bunch of exit trees that were left over from the process, so I can add some more density, I can place them anywhere behind this hill, and get some nice photographs out of that. So in this video, I'll detail all the steps and how I took to create this, and hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I decided what I wanted the base of this hill to look like. So I just took some extra foam that I had laying around, cut it up into strips, into various hill shapes, glued it down with some Gorilla Glue. And I really like Gorilla Glue for this stuff, but it does expand, so you do have to either weight it down, or as in my case, I pinned it down using some T-pins, and that seemed to do the trick. But yeah, I really like Gorilla Glue, it holds really well. Next, I just needed to cut up the foam, so it was the shape of the hill that I wanted. I wanted to make sure each side was tapered, so that it kind of drops off and just doesn't, it's not just a square edge, so it has some sort of natural flow to the hill shape. And then just took some Sculptamold and started slapping it on there, and then just smoothing it out as I went. Next up was to paint the entire base with just a brown latex paint. In case any scenery didn't cover the entire thing, it wouldn't show white from underneath. And I just picked a brown color that I thought looked good. I think this was called Mudslide. Took some fine sifted dirt that I sifted out of my backyard, and proceeded to make an entire mess all over my table, but scooped that back up, put it into an old vitamin jar, and then took an old stocking from my wife's collection that she no longer uses, made sure of that, put that over the top, and then just poured some white glue all along the top and spread it out with an old brush. Alright, so here I'm just sifting the dirt across the entire base, making sure I covered as much as I can. I did have to do it a couple times because of, or a couple passes, because of the glue was soaking it up. And then next is some ground foam. So the first color here is an earth color, which is kind of like a dark green, but after you wet it and glue it down, it does turn more of like a brown, which I felt looked really good. And then a blended earth, or yeah, I think they call it blended earth. And then some burnt grass, just as a base color for underneath everything. Here I'm just taking some isopropyl alcohol, spraying the entire thing, really soaking it in there, kind of break up the surface tension on the top. And I was going to spray the entire thing with my glue water mixture. I do 3 parts water, 1 part glue, but the spray bottle, it must have seized up. I forgot to clean it out properly the last time I used it, so that didn't work, and I didn't want to go out and get a new spray bottle right away. So yeah, I did this for the entire thing. That took a long time. I did feel that the entire hill looked a little too uniform, so I put some more glue on kind of randomly, and just took some more of that fine sifted dirt and just made some dirt areas just to kind of break up the monotony. And I think it turned out pretty good. I tried to keep it somewhat random, but have some sort of unique flow to it. And I picked up the Woodland Scenic Static King. I really like this thing. I just have this cheap little static grass applicator that I got off of eBay, and it really wasn't going so great. Static grass. I bought a lot of static grass. Woodland Scenics. So anywhere from 4 to 12 millimeter blades of grass. And yeah, I like this thing because it's got this divider you can put in it, and it has a special grate that you can put over the top, so you can have one size of grass on one side and another size on the other. And then as you're moving it across the whatever you're putting static grass on, you have two different sizes that you can blend together really well. You can see it right here on the top. It just kind of snaps together. And it has a nice weight to it too, so when you're using it, it feels really good in the hand. You can control it better than those cheap little fly swatter type things. But yeah, I'm really happy with this thing. I picked it up off eBay for, I think it was like $67, which normally they go for around 100, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. And I definitely feel like it's worth the money. And it comes with this this flea comb that I like to call it. Looks like a flea comb, and it's just you can kind of coerce the grass so it stands in the direction you want, because it will stick to perpendicular to the side of the surface you're putting it on, and that doesn't really look natural. So using that little comb kind of helps tease it in the right direction. And then here I'm just blending the different colors. I went from a dark to a medium to a light green. And here you can see like a transition through the blend of the different size and color grasses, and I think it turned out pretty good. The dirt was a little too monotonous, so I just took some artist pastels, scraped it into piles, blended them up, and then just brushed it into the dirt, or onto the dirt. It was dried and pretty hard at that point, just to give it a little bit of a variety so it doesn't look too plain. Just highlight some of the areas. There we go. All right, so next up, Super Trees by Scenic Express. I just bought some of those and started making lots of little bushes. Yeah, this took a while too, because I made a ton of these things, and I just wanted to be able to fill a wooded area on top of this hill with small bushes underneath to give it more of a natural feel. You could see I made a lot of these, several different colors too. I picked these up at a train show not that long ago, and I thought they looked really good once they were all applied. Here I just took some of the larger pieces of the super trees and made full size trees, and I spray painted them with gray primer and just a brown spray paint, just to get a natural color underneath, because it didn't really look like a natural tree. It just kind of looked like this, well, it's called sea foam, and it has quite a variety of different colors to it. Kind of looks like a little rainbow, but that doesn't look too realistic for trees on an HO scale diorama. So I spray painted it and then just dipped in glue and just sprinkled all these super leaves on top. And I did that for the rest of that night. I think that's all I was doing that night, was just making bushes and trees. But I think they turned out pretty good. Here you can see some of the finished trees. That bluish color is called juniper. I really like that color, but I like it sparingly. It just has like little highlights in the trees, or the different types of trees. Then there's some medium green and some light green as well. Now I'm just taking a small pointed file and I'm just going to puncture holes in the diorama. I want to make sure the file was slightly larger than the diameter of the base of the trees, just so that they go in without a problem. They do break pretty easily, so you do have to be careful. So I wanted to make sure that the hole wasn't too restrictive, so I didn't break the trunks in half, because I did end up doing that when I was kind of practicing earlier. And yeah, they're pretty delicate, so you do have to be careful with them. And I just kept doing that along the base of the hill. So I started with just a few of the large trees, I think 5 or 6 of them, and I wanted to make sure I didn't flood the whole thing with large trees, because then it would be hard to get in between them. So what I did was I just did a few of these trees. Here I did 5 of them at first, and then that left a bunch of open space around them so that I could glue in all the tiny little details and kind of work my way around the entire diorama in little chunks. So I would glue the big ones down and then come in later with some more of the small details. Here I'm just getting these ready. And I also made some like dead branches using some crushed leaves from my backyard. And I think those turned out pretty good. I mean, they are leaves, so they look real because they are. Yeah, and I just sprinkled around the base of the trees where these leaves would have fallen and started decaying. But as I was saying, I wanted to make sure I left enough space to work in the small details. Then I could come back in later and put some larger trees in, and then also repeat that process of putting more smaller details around those larger trees. Because if you put all the big ones in first, it's kind of hard to get all those little details in there, because you have to move around everything, and then you end up hitting them and breaking them, and that just makes a big mess. So here, yeah, I'm just creating small holes and putting in small bushes. And here you can see a lot of the details that I'm gluing down into place. That's underbrush from Woodland Scenics. There's another ground fiber type foam or whatever they have. And just the combination of colors, I wanted to keep them kind of the same color palette in a sense, so that they all looked pretty uniform, but not too uniform, so that there was some variety there. But I think it turned out looking pretty good. You can see here it kind of looks like a natural forest floor, and I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so next I took the remaining trees that didn't make it on the hill and just took some old cut up pieces of foam and just punctured holes and put those into there so that I could keep those as like separate tiny little modules that could move around in the background, and I can position them. These are all the rest of the trees here. As you'll see in the next shot, I place these behind the hill so that it gives a depth to the wooded area, and I can move them around as needed and move them into different pictures or take them out and put them onto a different layout or another diorama.
Alright, and so there we have it. Now I have a nice little hill with a tree line for a backdrop, and I think it turned out pretty good. Definitely got a lot of scenery practice in, so I'm going to be ready for the layout once it gets put together a little bit more. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start photographing a bunch of rolling stock and just see what I can come up with. So if you enjoyed this, consider subscribing so you can catch future videos like this. And until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. See you later.